Let me take you on a journey to Niger Republic in West Africa. Despite the heat and the different culture and the different sounds and smells that I experienced in Niger compared to my home country Iceland, I was astonished how many things we had in common. I work in the environmental field, but what I saw in Niger surprised me. In both countries, the land is in a bad condition in many places, and in both countries, sandstorms are common, blowing sand over fertile land, suffocating vegetation. This first visit of mine to Niger actually opened my eyes. The environmental challenges that we're dealing with, such as degraded land and climate change, are global in nature, and they look the same, no matter where on the planet we're standing. I have been fortunate in my work to travel to many different countries in the world, and I've seen with my own eyes both the differences, but also the similarities in our environments. If you travel to Niger, Lesotho, Mongolia, or Iceland, you might actually be surprised to see similar challenges when it comes to the condition of the land. But why is that? It is because the reasons of why the land loses its vegetation and soil and becomes degraded are strikingly similar all over the world. Poor land use, overgrazing, clearing of forests is the same story for many countries in different parts of the world. Yes, we have big challenges ahead of us, and the degradation of land is one of the most important ones. Degraded land increases the severity of the climate crisis since it releases greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. Soil stores a huge amount of carbon, and the carbon in the soil accounts for 1/3 of global carbon stocks. And that's a lot of carbon. Healthy land, however, captures greenhouse gases and binds it in vegetation and soil. So by restoring land that has degraded, we are doing good for our earth and climate. Let's not forget that as human beings, our fate is tied to the land, and degraded land with its bad consequences on food and water security has a major effect on people's livelihood and can lead to conflicts and increase human migration. And we are talking about that more than 1/3 of the world's population is negatively affected by degraded land. We really need change. Changing the world means changing people. Well-educated and dedicated people who are willing to take the lead in making our planet healthier for future generations is vital for all life on Earth. We desperately need people, leaders, who have the knowledge and the skills to manage and restore land, and who foster collaboration, empathy, and the exchange of ideas. Yes, I have a dream that we will succeed in introducing a new kind of leadership to address the crisis our Mother Earth is facing. And I want to tell you the story of how we are creating these environmental leaders in the international training program that I have led for more than 10 years. The program focuses on building the capacities of professionals who work at local environmental institutions in Africa and Central Asia. I'm often asked, why on earth do you have such a training program in Iceland of all places? But believe it or not, there is a good reason for hosting the program in Iceland. Iceland has a 1,000-year-long history of intense land use. We have a history of overgrazing and forest cutting in a harsh climate. We lost almost all our woodlands, and our soil blew away. In the beginning of the 20th century, Iceland was one of the poorest countries in Europe. And I am thankful that 100 years ago that the people of Iceland started to address the problem of degraded land. At that time, the moving sand had to be stopped, since it was destroying farmland and making life even more difficult for my fellow countrymen and women. And now, Big areas have been revegetated, although we still have much work left. So it is on this history and experiences, its successes and failures, that a training program is built. So, back to business. How are we creating the environmental leaders of tomorrow? It is very important for our future environmental leaders to understand why our lands are in such bad shape all over the world, and how the condition of the land is so linked to the problems we are seeing in our climate. They also need to know how best to restore the degraded land and how to manage the land in a sustainable way. And this is what we aim to provide them with in our program. But we do more than that. Leaders need more than technical knowledge, and we strive to train them in leadership skills that we believe are important to succeed in restoring our planet, such as fostering collaboration, listening to and respecting each other's views, and communicating environmental knowledge to diverse groups of people. The people we train are carefully selected, both based on their potential and their position to make a difference when they have completed the training and return home. They all work for leading environmental institutions in their home countries, and they get a leave from work for 6 months to attend our program in Iceland. When they return to their workplace and home country after our training, they are expected to share their knowledge to co-workers, policymakers, and local communities. It is not easy to leave your home country to stay for 6 months in an intense training program far away from home with people from different countries, religions, gender, and ages. But if you are taken out of your comfort zone and exposed to new ideas and new thinking in a safe and constructive environment, it gives opportunities to grow and for new ideas to flourish. Esther Amoako is a university lecturer from Ghana. After experiencing deforestation and bush burning in her area, she had the dream of educating the local people about the need of protecting the environment. But she did not know how best to formulate her dream so it would become a reality. So I was thrilled to hear that attending our program in 2012 helped her realize her vision for a better world. Less than a year after completing our training, she had established 3 eco-clubs for school children in northern Ghana. And these clubs have now grown and have over 200 children in 4 different schools. And I was so fortunate to visit Esther's eco-clubs last year on my visit to Ghana. And I was so fascinated by the dedication and the interests of the children and their teachers. And the children, they proudly showed me pictures that they had made to illustrate the environmental challenges that they see on a daily basis in northern Ghana, and expressed how they, as future leaders, can contribute to a healthy and sustainable environment. We are so proud of Esther. It takes more than practical knowledge to make changes in this complicated world. In our program, we practice goal setting, and our trainees are coached to reach them. They are encouraged to step outside their comfort zone, think critically, and to be open to share their views. In our program, we also focus on sharing knowledge instead of transferring it one way. So through this learning experience, we create a platform for all parties to share ideas and knowledge, allowing us to build competence and trust. Lastly, gender equality is one of the program's core values, for a good reason. Agriculture is the primary livelihood of nearly 80% of women in the least developed countries, and land degradation and drought hit women hard. So, considering this fact, we expect our trainees to put up their gender glasses when they are writing their project proposals. We actually thought it was quite funny when one trainee once asked us if only women worked in Iceland. after only seeing women, or mostly women, after their first week of their training as their director, medical doctor, and bank teller. We are very proud that many of our trainees have gone on to make a real difference when they have completed the training and returned home. And Esther's Eco Clubs are an excellent example, but Mustafa Ibrahim from Niger also has an impressive story to tell. His passion for the environment started back in 1984 when he was a child in a Niger village. At that time, a severe drought had hit the region, killing animals and destroying crops, leaving the community hopeless and hungry. But Mustafa, he was an attentive child, and he noticed that the drought had more impact on degraded land than on a healthy land with trees and shrubs. So he decided to make environmental protection and restoration his passion. So, after his university studies and 2 years of work for the Niger Environmental Ministry, he attended our program in Iceland. And Mustafa told me that the training had strengthened his land management and leadership skills, and when he returned back to Niger, he has been promoted several times and is now in a key position to influence decision-making as well as to lead activities and projects. And he also raises awarenesses among the local communities. These stories and many more tell me that we can manage and restore land in a sustainable way by empowering specialists to become leaders who foster collaboration, trust, and empathy across cultures, religions, and genders. I have shared my dream, and I really want our children and grandchildren to grow up in a fair and peaceful world where everybody lives a dignified life and nobody needs to suffer from hunger, thirst, or conflicts. In a world where climate change is not a threat and where ecosystems are protected and restored. I am aware that my dream is bold, but I am sure that by building trust and mutual understanding, by learning from each other, sharing knowledge and experiences, we can succeed.